Good afternoon. I now call to order the October 7th. I have the wrong agenda in front of me, folks. I'm going to pull this up quickly, and it's still good afternoon. It's still October 7th, and I'm going to call the Municipal Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, I will note that for the record of this meeting, that Mayor Haxon is absent with notice. As acting mayor, I will be chairing today's meeting in the mayor's absence. I will also note additionally that Councillor Crone is also absent with notice. Takes us to the next item. Do we have any declarations of interest from any of the members of council? Seeing none, I'll move forward to the land acknowledgement statement. The town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaties First Nations and other Indigenous peoples, and on behalf of council, I thank them for sharing this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as East Gwillimbury's closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities.
Mr. Chair. Mm-hmm. I'd like to put on a motion to waive procedural bylaw to add an item under other business. So we need a vote on that. And the item would be in regards to the mayor's absence. I can speak to the rationale, but I just don't want to be speaking to the motion until we have a vote.
Yeah, understood. I'm just thinking because it's an identifiable individual that you were looking to have this discussion.
It's not, it's about the office of the mayor and the fact that we only received the acting mayor schedule and we did not actually approve it. So it's about, council needs to provide some direction and clarity. So it's not about the mayor per se, but it's about more about the acting mayor schedule not being approved. And I don't want to get too much into it. I just want to waive procedure so we can have the discussion. So we need 2/3 to do that.
Okay, okay, well, we can't speak to that. So if you are calling for this and you are moving it, is there a seconder to this? Councillor Roy DeClemente would like to second this. Any discussion, further comments? Councillor Brothers? No? All those in favor? Okay, so all those opposed? Madam Clerk, it was 3-2. I don't know the procedures on for, I didn't do a count today of how many people are sitting here.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 individual members of council, and I believe you have captured, 5 members present with Councillor Crone absent, so you would need 3 votes of council.
Okay, motion carries. So that will be added to other business. So that takes us to deputations. There are none at this time. Presentation.
Mr. Chair, it was the question that you were referring to in relation to the waiving of the rules of procedure.
Correct.
Yes, for that one, you would require a special majority, which means the majority that you have plus 1. So you just indicated to me that you had captured 3 votes out of the 5 individuals here. You would require majority. The majority would be 3 plus 1. So the special
motion
majority
fails.
Yes.
So I just want to be clear, because I try not to speak to the motion, but we don't currently have an acting mayor. Our current acting mayor schedule has Councillor Foster in the chair, on the acting mayor. So I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to discuss that.
So I was, sorry, just one point. So we did just give the opportunity to table this.
Okay.
I will say, though, that as per procedures, from a notice of motion, I think that the opportunity, if you want to file a notice of motion and be able to discuss that, then that would be prudent.
Okay.
So for clarity, through you, Acting Mayor Johns, so the motion failed, and we will not be discussing it under other business, correct?
Correct. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Just a procedural question through you to staff. Our acting mayor schedule was received by council but not adopted or as amended. So according to our acting mayor's schedule, Councillor Foster should still be in the chair. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I was advised that council had received the letter from Councillor Foster indicating that they no longer wish to be part of that rotational. I've also been advised that in the prior meeting, Councillor Johns had also acted in the capacity, and that was permitted by members of council. I'm not aware of any additional information beyond that. Again, I was not here at the time, but it is my understanding that it was council's intent to allow for that, as it has already been actioned in September, I believe. Councillor Johns, you may have already been in that position. So I don't have anything beyond that, Councillor Rady Clemente, in
But
terms
the
of...
resolution was, the resolution was to receive the report, not to adopt the schedule as amended.
So just to keep us on track, I think that based on previous meetings that we had, the proper procedure, even though we have gone off proper procedure previously, would be to file the notice of motion and then the opportunity to speak to it. That would be prudent.
So our procedural bylaw speaks to things that are of a more urgent nature, and given that you're sitting in the acting mayor chair and we don't have an approved acting mayor bylaw, that to me is the problem.
So I don't want to call point of order because clearly this is very important, but we should clarify, we have an acting mayor's schedule that has been enacted and that staff are following and that I am receiving direction on. If the clerk would like to add anything to that, otherwise we will be with the solicitor, and the solicitor does have her hand up.
If I may, through you, Mr. Acting Mayor, the Acting Mayor grid bylaw is in place and is effective. I've looked at that acting mayor schedule. Councillor Foster's withdrawal on his own initiative from the grid portion of the bylaw is effective. We cannot compel any member of council to act in accordance with something of that nature. If Councillor Foster has withdrawn, then the next in line will be in the schedule. And that, like I said, I've looked at that acting mayor bylaw. It's effective and in force and valid. So if there's anything else in terms of that, we can take that up separately, but that's my view on it.
So following the agenda, we have no deputations at this time. We have, under E, there are no presentations at this time, and that takes us to item F, which are the committee recommendations to adopt the committee of the whole recommendations from the meeting held on September 16th. And I'm looking for a mover to that. Councillor Foster, is there a seconder to that? Councillor Leahy, all those in favor? Motion carries. Adoption of the minutes. G1, to adopt the committee of the whole minutes from the meeting of September 16th. The resolution is there documented in front of you. Looking for a mover. Councillor Leahy, seconder. Councillor Carruthers, thank you very much. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 2, to adopt the council minutes from the meeting held on September 16th, 2025, as the resolution has written. Mover, Councillor Foster, seconder. Councillor Carruthers, thank you. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item H, so we have correspondence for consideration. This is correspondence from Ms. Suzanne Craig, the Integrity Commissioner, dated September 29th, 2025, and it's regarding clarification of the Integrity Commissioner's 2024-2025 annual report. So if I could get a mover and seconder to table this, and then we can have some discussion if warranted around it. Councillor Leahy is looking to move it. Do we have a seconder on this item? Anybody wish to second it? We are not looking to receive this. Madam Clerk, can I second an item with me sitting in the chair from a procedural perspective?
Bear with me for a moment, Mr. Chair.
Sorry? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, in accordance with your procedure bylaw under bylaw that amended it in 2014, the chair may move or second any motion.
So I will second that, and this tables the item. Is there any discussion surrounding this? Seeing none, be it resolved that the correspondence from Suzanne Craig, Integrity Commissioner, dated September 29, 2025, regarding clarification of the Integrity Commissioner's 2024-2025 annual report, the way the motion is written, it says that the correspondence from Suzanne Craig, Integrity Commissioner, dated September 29, 2025, regarding clarification should note that it is received. I was wondering what the action was on that motion, so be received. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. So item I takes us to a closed meeting, and to proceed to a closed meeting, I'll need a mover and seconder, and then I'll need to read this out loud. So is there a mover for this item? Councillor Roy DiClemente. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Carruthers, thank you. So be it resolved that council proceed into a closed meeting of Municipal Council at 2:13 p.m. to deal with the following matters. Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for the purpose, for that purpose, Municipal Act Section 239 2F, legal advice on a planning matter, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, Municipal Act Section 239 2E, Ontario Land Tribunal proceeding update, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, Municipal Act Section 239 2C, potential land transaction, personal matter about an identifiable individual, Municipal Act Section 239 2B, committees, groups, and boards, resignation, Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Committee, committees, groups, and boards, vacancies, Youth Advisory Committee. All those in favor? Motion carries, and we'll take this time to go to a closed meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bear with us as we transition into a secured closed meeting. Mr. Chair, we're now live.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. So we are now on item 2, to rise and report from the closed meeting of Municipal Council. And so we have a motion drafted here that says, be it resolved that Council rise and report from the closed meeting of Municipal Council at 3:31 p.m. and that Council endorse all directions provided to staff at the closed meeting of Municipal Council held on October 7th, 2025. Mover for that. Councillor Foster. Councillor Roy D. Clemente, second it. All those in favor? Motion carries. That takes us to item J. Madam Clerk, can I refer to staff on advising the update on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there are 2 resolutions for council's consideration. It is to update Schedule D as well as Schedule H of Bylaw 2023-045 to remove individuals from the applicable committees. One is Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Committee. The other one is Youth Advisory Committee. The resolution will be placed on the screen before you for your consideration.
Looking in, I need to go visit the optometrist here. Looking for a mover and a seconder for this. Be it resolved that Schedule D of Bylaw 2023-045 be amended to remove L. Singh from the Diversity Inclusion Advisory Committee, and that Schedule H of Bylaw 2023-045 be amended to remove A. Opolinski from the Youth Advisory Committee. Mover for that. Councillor Leahy. Councillor Foster, seconder. All those in favor? Motion carries. That takes us down to the documented item 1 of J. It's a notice of motion presented that I actually presented on with support from Councillor Leahy regarding motorized e-scooters and bicycles throughout the community. The motion is sitting there before. Essentially, the be it therefore resolved is that council refer this matter to staff for review and direction on what the town of East Gwillimbury can do to address the increased use of motorized scooters and bicycles on municipal infrastructure, and that staff report back to council with recommendations on potential regulations, enforcement strategies, and community education measures that could appropriately address this community safety concern. So I had moved it, Councillor Leahy had seconded it. So before we call the question, happy to open it to the floor, to the dais, to if any council members wish to discuss. Councillor Leahy.
Thank you very much. Through you, Councillor Johns. It seems that ever since this motion came forward, there's been lots of discussion. There's been lots of articles on websites, and also there's been accidents reported that I've heard of individuals being injured on their e-bikes or e-scooters. So my one question is with regard to the definition of the motorized scooters and bicycles on municipal infrastructure and enforcement strategies, because at the most recent seniors event that was hosted at the EG Sports Complex, there were representatives there, and they were sharing information about e-bikes and e-scooters in York Region. And so just to note, there are rules of the road, and in order to operate an e-scooter, you must be 16 years or older, according to the police, and as well as if you're under 18 years of age, you must, in capital letters in bold here, wear a CSA-approved bicycle helmet. And then with regard to e-bikes, it says that the riders must know the rules of the road. To operate an e-bike, you must, in capital letters in bold, be 16 years or older. And as well, it says here, all e-bike riders must, in capital letters in bold, wear a CSA-approved bicycle or motorcycle helmet. So there are already laws on the books that the police are trying to educate the public about. But I just thought it was important to mention that before we passed the resolution. But with regard to defining motorized scooters and bicycles, I would like to suggest that there are other devices that I'm not even sure what the correct term is for them. For example, one wheel. It's just one wheel with a place for an individual to stand on either side. And I have seen those in Mount Albert being operated so I'm wondering the best way, or if staff need any further direction to, if this will include that type of vehicle as well, that is being used by, as far as I could tell, just from my own personal observations in the community, by someone under the age of 16 years old. So is it about enforcement and working with the police, or how can we really add some enforcement and some impact to this to prevent injuries in our community?
Thanks, Councillor Leahy. So when I had written and tabled this, I was actually very concerned that either I would be including something I shouldn't, or excluding something that we shouldn't be excluding, and recognizing that that we're councillors and as opposed to professionals. The fact is that York Regional Police and obviously other enforcement folks in regards to the law are starting to do community education seminars too. And so I really did, the intention was to refer it back to staff, to be able for staff to say, okay, this is the area where they would suggest commenting, or not even commenting, or even supporting on community education. But this is, I believe this is a community safety concern that warrants at least staff looking at, and I didn't want to include something that shouldn't be, or exclude in my ignorance. Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. I'm quite aware of the increase in the scooter uses and the unsafeness, and as Councillor Leahy pointed out, the rules that kids don't seem to be following, all that. I'm a little bit concerned this might be outside the municipal jurisdiction, and this is, as Councillor Leahy pointed out, we need to engage YRP. So because of the pressing nature of this, I don't want to send something to staff and say, do something about this, have them come back and us debate it again, and then send it back before we do something. I'm wondering if a stronger resolution might be to request staff to work with YRP to ensure safety, especially around youth and motorized equipment, maybe, I don't know, we need to find the correct word for that, as well as asking staff to maybe consider a communication strategy. I don't like approving regulations that motions, resolutions that are very broad with somebody ought to do something about this. I think we need to give staff clear direction on what we're looking for from them, and what I'm hearing and having discussions that have already occurred. We don't want to give false expectations that we're doing something when we don't really have jurisdiction to do anything. And we also want to be careful of unintended consequences if we were to ban them or something like that, where we have seniors who are using these as mobility devices. This did come up at the Trails Committee, and they were wondering how this got on the agenda, knowing that we are very much trying to promote active transportation. This falls under active transportation. So I would like for us to consider receiving this and requesting staff to work with YRP to enforce the rules that already exist.
Yeah, so in response to that, Councillor Carruthers, because I tabled this, what you just said now was different from the beginning, because you were actually more broad in the second part of your comment. In the beginning, you commented about youth, and then later on you commented about seniors. I think we have to be very careful about the fact that it's everybody that's using these. And if this body of this council feels that it is important that we direct this to York Regional Police, perhaps York Regional Police comes back to us and says that they need support on something else. I'm completely in support of that. It is just very apparent. It doesn't matter an age group. Doesn't matter if you're going 40 kilometers, like trail use. there are clear safety concerns that are occurring within the municipality. And so if that's what you would like to do, and that is what this council would also like to do, I'm okay with that. We'll let everybody speak, and then we can see where we land. Councillor Foster.
Thank you. I'll throw some support behind Councillor Carruthers' thought process, but I'll try to take it a little bit further. I find that I'm caught square in the middle on this. I think this is an issue. I'm not sure that it's in our lane to try and move forward with this. And I also think in the back of my mind, there's not much sense of us going through all this with staff time that leads to a bylaw that we can't enforce anyway. I think that possibly, again, kind of going down the road where Councillor Carruthers was heading, this would be a perfect opportunity to have YRP come in and speak to us at a workshop and tell us how this works. Is there any benefit to us doing this at all? Other municipalities around us have maybe done the same thing that, and maybe all that work means nothing. So I'm not so sure maybe that's the route we shouldn't go. Doesn't have to be a whole workshop. A half-an-hour presentation, tell us what this is all about. I think that's the way I'd like to go forward. Great.
Mr. Valchik, you did have your hand up.
Mr. Chair, just as a follow-up to Councillor Foster's comments, just an advisement. Recently, the mayor and I met with YRP just to talk about, we do a regular touch base periodically. And one of the things that came up during our meeting was perhaps scheduling another opportunity for them to come in and do a bit of a generic community safety update, because there's this issue, there's all sorts of other issues around community safety that YRP, would be of public interest to the residents of East Gwillimbury. So certainly as part of this, and we'll sort of take whatever direction council provides as a result of this motion, but as part of it, if you would like, at some point, I can't guarantee exactly how quickly that'll happen, at an upcoming workshop, we could incorporate a piece based on availability by YRP. They said they're more than willing to come in and provide council with a little bit of a generic community safety update and some Q's and A's. And we found in the past the public really seems to benefit from those, because there's information that people are interested in, and hearing it directly from YRP is sometimes quite effective. So we're happy to work on scheduling something, just couldn't guarantee a time frame, but at some point in the coming months, we could do such a thing if that was helpful.
Clemente.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just further to Mr. Valchich's comments, what I will note is there's a historic increase in break-ins when the time changes and things get darker earlier, and there usually is a rise in break-ins, and the YRP have an amazing session that they give on how to protect your home. Slightly off topic, but what I wanted to suggest was, just based on what I've been hearing today, is it certainly sounds like it's a Highway Traffic Act issue, that it's a YRP issue, and that it is something that I want to support YRP's efforts, but it doesn't sound like it's a municipal bylaw enforcement issue at this point, other than some communication about trail etiquette. So I'd like to suggest that council refer the matter to staff to work with YRP to support their communication and enforcement efforts on this important community safety concern, and to advise council if there are any policy or bylaw amendments needed to improve safety for residents.
Perfect. So to that end, call that as amendment.
Sure.
Do you want to throw it up on the screen?
It's scribbled on my paper.
Okay.
Give me a second. Do you want me to read it again, and then I can provide it to the clerk for the minutes? Okay, so the resolution would basically be that we maintain all of the whereases as presented, and that be it therefore resolved that council refer this matter for staff to work with YRP to support their communication and enforcement efforts on this important community safety concern, and to advise council if there are policy or bylaw amendments needed to improve safety for residents.
Well done, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Carruthers.
So is this a new motion, or, because we had a lot of whereases, I just want to make sure those whereases are gone, because I don't want to be debating the whereases. So this is a new motion that we're putting on?
I left the whereases as they were because they were explaining what was happening in our community right now, sort of a status quo update, which is why we're putting, I don't have a problem with these. I've seen other things. I could add a whole bunch of whereases and explain what's been happening. And I could even debate whether active transportation is actually happening when you've got 12-year-olds on mopeds and so on, destroying our BMX track, for example. But that's a whole other discussion. It's really just, this is what's happening. This is why we're passing this resolution. And acknowledging that it is essentially a YRP issue, but that we want to support their efforts and continue to get the word out, as Councillor Leahy very helpfully pointed out, that there is already communication out there, and we just need to reinforce that, even just for parents who may not know better, that their kids should be wearing a helmet if they're riding an e-bike, for example.
Okay, so I can narrow it down to the one paragraph that I think is problematic. It's the third whereas, whereas many of the users of motorized scooters are not of legal driving age. I'm not sure that we can say that. We've maybe noticed it, but I don't think that's fair to put that in that. Let's take that one out. Thanks.
Great, we strike that. Good. Councillor Foster, we're working collaboratively to get to the solution here. Do you have a comment on that? Okay, so we're going to call the question then. And it is on our screens in...
Just bear with us for a moment. Just one moment, let me just pull it up. So Councillor Roy DeClemente, I've tried to capture the essence of everything, so I'm just going to put it on the screen. And as recommended, the third clause has been removed. So the section in blue is what I was trying to quickly capture.
Be it resolved that council refer the matter for staff to work with York Regional Police to support communication and enforcement efforts on this important issue, and to advise on council on policy and bylaw required to promote safety.
I will provide the actual, what I read out, I will provide it to the clerk, but that's the spirit of it, yes.
Question?
Councillor Carruthers.
So I believe that your actual language was around if there was policy and bylaw required. This just is reading like we're definitely going to have a policy and bylaw, and we don't want that. We want to ask staff if they think it's required.
So we'll just pause for one moment while Councillor Roy DeClemente and the clerk work together. Chief Wordsmith Officer. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So it is on the screen now. I will read that out again. Be it resolved that council refer this matter for staff to work with York Regional Police to support their communication and enforcement efforts on this important community safety concern, and to advise council if there are policy or bylaw amendments needed to improve safety for residents. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thanks, folks. That was great. Okay, item K, reports. One, we have a corporate services memo and appointment bylaw for Ethan McKenzie and Salvatore Agnello. Be it resolved that corporate services memorandum dated October 7th, entitled Appointment Bylaw Ethan McKenzie, Salvatore Agnello, be received. Need a mover and a seconder for that. We have Councillor Roy D. Clemente, Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, so we have bylaws, items 1 through 6. Does anybody want, do we want them separated out, or do we, would you like me to pull one specifically? Hearing nothing, I'd like to move bylaws L1 through 6, if appropriate. If able to, Madam Clerk, is that okay to do that? Items L1 through 6, be it resolved that bylaws, I will say L1 through 6, instead of reading them all out, be taken as read, enacted, and signed by the mayor and municipal clerk. I need a mover and a seconder for those bylaws. Councillor Foster, Councillor Leahy, all those in favor? Motion carries. Item M, other business, none at this time. Councillor Roy D. Clemente.
Thank you. Just a time-sensitive issue, given that Mayor Haxon has advised us without very much warning that she will be absent until the end of November. We passed a resolution on September 10th asking staff to help us address the inconsistency between the Municipal Act and the Acting Mayor bylaw, and we've asked for some information regarding business continuity. So I'm just wondering when staff are going to be preparing that information for us.
Thanks, Councillor Roy D. Clemente. I am not sure which staff member to refer that to. And Ms. Ingram, thank you very much.
Through you, Mr. Acting Mayor, we are looking at our priorities right now, Councillor Roy D. Clemente, so we can't give you an answer today, but we certainly have it on our radar. We're looking at perhaps bringing in some external help to help us with that, because that priority wasn't a priority until just recently for us. So there's, that's what we can tell you today, but we can reach back out to you once we have more to discuss about the timelines.
I think given the urgent nature, it would be important for us to have that information sooner rather than later. There's a gap, as far as I'm concerned, as far as authority to make decisions on behalf of our community and for staff. And so I'd like to have that information sooner rather than later. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Roy D. Clemente. So we now move to confirming bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-055, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on October 7, 2025, be taken as read, enacted, and signed by the mayor and municipal clerk. Mover and seconder. Councillor Foster, seconder, Councillor Roy D. Clemente. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Motion carries. We go to adjournment. Be it resolved that the meeting of council adjourn at 3:55 p.m. Mover, Councillor Crothers, seconder, Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Motion carries. Go Jays, go.